I had to shape the back of this piece of plywood to fit it around some wires, and I was just trying to remove a little bit of the material kind of gracefully to sneak up on the perfect fit. And typical hand plane, just too big. Even a block plane, not very convenient tool. I did end up using chisels, utility knives of course, but I discovered this little teeny block plane actually had some utility on it, and I wanted to use the spokeshave, and the spokeshave actually turned out to be a very nice tool. But before I could really use it effectively, I had to tune it up. I started trying to sharpen this, and I was having a real tough time removing the burr on the backside. And I think you can see if I hold it against the light how unflat this blade is. I've been using my old diamond stone for a good 15-20 minutes now, just trying to get this flatter. So I flattened that face, and you can see by the way it's catching the light how much I had to do. This area here in the middle where the logo is a high spot on this face, and as you might imagine that also gave me problems when trying to establish the primary bevel on this edge. Let's see if I can get the light just right. And on this side these corners are high, so on this side these corners are low, and if I get the light just right, you can see I haven't quite gotten the primary grind all the way to the corners. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to. This blade is too small for me to put into any jig. I have to sharpen it by hand. And the technique is I use my 25-degree block, put it down, and I hold this and reference it against the block, and then by hand I do some lapping, and then frequently check against the block, and my hand's cramping up and everything, so it's taking a while. But we're making good progress. Well, I think I've got the primary lapping done to the point. I'm going to start focusing more on the polishing. I showed you this face before, and the primary bevel is looking pretty good. There's a very little corner right here, that little area underneath my fingernail. Couldn't quite get to that, and you got to remove all this material before you can get down to that little corner. I just don't think it's that important. So now I'm going to work on to the polishing phase. All this slurry on my diamond here is simply this edge lapping this way, and that was a lot of metal to remove. I don't think this blade had ever been properly flattened or trued up. I think it came from the factory. Probably somebody had a tough time with it once it got dull. That was it. They probably never touched it again. What a shame. It was a lot of work. I probably spent 2 hours on this so far, but the good news is once you do it, theoretically it never has to be done again, at least not to this level. From now on all I have to do is worry about this edge here. I took some time to flatten this side of the iron, and when I put it in, I still get a teeny bit of rocking and movement, but it's much less than it was. I also took the time to try to make sure that this was reasonably flat. I didn't want to remove the finish, but I did take away perhaps some of the high spots, and I think that's pretty good now. And I polished it up and honed the edge. I think she's ready to rock and roll now. So here I am using the spokeshave to trim up some of these boards in place. And although I probably could have done this with a block plane, the wide handles of the spokeshave just give me a little bit more control and make it a better tool for the job. This is a number 51, which unfortunately does not have depth adjustment on the iron, so you have to do it the old-fashioned way with the old tappy tap tap. The good news is it's not that far off if you just set the iron with the whole thing resting on a flat surface. And in all honesty, when I set this up, it probably took less than a minute, 2 or 3 adjustments with a little tap here and there, and we are ready to go. Well, it works great, and I'm looking forward to using it in the future. It's another one of those tools where every now and then you have a job to do where this is the perfect thing to get it done. They're not that expensive to go out and find used, and they're not that tough to tune up. Of course, if you do find a used one, there's always a chance you might run across one that had been tuned up well by some previous owner. Unfortunately, I've never had such luck. So, there it is. As always, appreciate you guys coming by the shop, seeing what I'm up to. Any comments, suggestions, please don't be afraid to leave a comment. I'd love to read them all. And look forward to seeing you all on the next one.